The old logger, Silas, told me never to go into Blackwood Forest after sundown. The trees, they whisper, he'd say, his voice a gravelly rasp. And what they whisper, you don't want to hear. I always thought he was just an old man spinning yarns, a local legend to spook tourists. But last night, I found out the truth. My dog, Buster, a golden retriever with more courage than sense, bolted from the yard, chasing a rabbit right as the sun dipped below the horizon. I called for him, my voice swallowed by the sudden evening quiet. With a heavy sigh and a powerful flashlight, I plunged into the tree line. The forest was different at night. The familiar, sun-dappled paths became a labyrinth of shifting shadows. Every rustle of leaves sounded like footsteps. Every snap of a twig made my heart leap into my throat. The air grew cold, carrying a scent I couldn't place, something like damp earth and old, forgotten things. Buster, I yelled, my voice cracking. Only the echo answered back, distorted and strange. The beam of my flashlight cut through the oppressive darkness, but it felt like the light was being devoured just a few feet ahead. The trees were massive, ancient sentinels whose branches clawed at the sliver of moon above. That's when I heard it. A whisper. It wasn't Silas's gravelly voice, it was thin, reedy, like wind whistling through a keyhole. It seemed to come from everywhere at once. At first, I couldn't make out the words. It was just a sound, a sibilant hiss that slithered along my spine. I pushed deeper, calling for Buster again and again. The whispering grew louder, clearer. It wasn't one voice, but many, a chorus of faint, dry murmurs. They weren't speaking English or any language I recognized. It was a guttural, clicking dialect that sounded ancient and wrong. My flashlight beam landed on something carved into the trunk of a massive oak. It was a symbol, a spiral with lines branching off like spider legs. I'd never seen it before. As my light touched it, the whispering intensified, coalescing into a single, chilling word that wormed its way directly into my mind. Asterisk stay asterisk, panic, cold and sharp, seized me. This wasn't just a spooky forest. Something was here. Something was asterisk aware asterisk of me. I spun around, intending to run, to get back to the safety of my yard, but the path was gone. In its place was just a wall of impenetrable trees, their bark looking like wrinkled skin in the stark light. I was lost. Utterly, terrifyingly lost. I tried to retrace my steps, but every direction looked the same. The whispering was constant now, a maddening background hum that frayed my nerves. It was in my head, a pressure building behind my eyes. Then, I saw light. Faint, flickering, deep in the woods. Hope surged through me. Maybe another hiker, or ranger. Hello, I shouted, my voice trembling. Is someone there? I stumbled towards the light, branches whipping at my face. The whispering seemed to recede slightly as I got closer, replaced by a low, rhythmic chanting. The light grew stronger, casting dancing shadows. It was a campfire. As I broke through a thicket of thorns, I saw the source. A small clearing, and in the center, a fire pit. But there was no one there. The fire was burning brightly, logs crackling merrily as if someone had just stoked them. A few rough-hewn logs were arranged in a circle around it, like empty seats waiting for guests. My relief soured into confusion. Who would build a fire and just leave? I scanned the clearing. No tent, no backpack, nothing. Just the fire and the silent, watching trees. And then I saw Buster. He was lying on the far side of the fire, perfectly still. Buster! Boy, I cried, relief washing over me. But he didn't move. He didn't even lift his head. I rushed towards him, my boots crunching on the forest floor. Buster, you okay? I knelt beside him, my hand reaching for his fur. That's when I noticed his eyes were wide open, staring blankly up at the canopy. He wasn't breathing. There were no marks on him, no signs of a struggle. He was just gone. Grief hit me like a physical blow. But it was quickly overshadowed by a new, more profound terror. As I looked at my dog's vacant stare, I noticed the reflection in his unblinking eyes. They weren't reflecting the fire, or the trees, or the sky. They were reflecting something else. Reflected in each of his pupils was a figure. Tall and impossibly thin, with limbs that bent at unnatural angles. It had no face, just a smooth, pale expanse of skin where features should have been. And it was standing right behind me. I didn't scream. The sound was trapped in my lungs, and not of pure, undiluted fear. The whispering returned, louder than ever, a hurricane of voices in my skull, all chanting that same, awful word. Asterisk stay asterisk. I scrambled backwards on all fours, away from Buster, away from the reflection, my eyes locked on the empty space behind where I had just been kneeling. The air shimmered, like heat rising from pavement. I could feel a presence there, a cold that had nothing to do with the night air. It felt ancient and hungry. My flashlight had fallen, its beam now pointing crazily up into the branches. The faceless thing in Buster's eyes, it wasn't just behind me. It was all around. The trees themselves seemed to shift and groan. The bark on the trunks swirled, the patterns forming hollows that looked like screaming mouths. The forest was alive, and it was closing in. I finally found my voice and let out a raw, desperate yell. I lurched to my feet and ran. I didn't know where I was going, I just ran. Away from the fire, away from Buster, away from the thing I couldn't see but knew was there. The whispering voices shrieked, no longer coaxing but demanding. They scraped at the inside of my mind, promising me a place among them, a permanent home in the heart of the woods. Branches tore at my clothes and skin, but I didn't feel the pain. Adrenaline was afire in my veins. I could hear something behind me, a skittering, clicking sound, like dry bones dragging on the ground. It was keeping pace with me, effortlessly. I didn't dare look back. I don't know how long I ran. It felt like hours, an eternity in the suffocating dark. Then, through the trees, I saw it. The warm, yellow glow of my own kitchen window. I'd somehow circled back. I burst from the tree line, gasping, and didn't stop until the back door slammed shut behind me. I locked it, bolted it, and slumped to the floor, my body shaking uncontrollably. I've been sitting here ever since. The sun is coming up now, but it doesn't feel safe. I keep looking out the window at the edge of the woods. The trees stand silent, just as they always have. But I know they're not just trees. They're waiting. They're watching. And they're whispering. They took Buster, and they wanted me too. They still do. Silas was right. You shouldn't go into Blackwood Forest after dark. Because what whispers in the trees, it wants you to stay forever. Thanks so much for listening to my story. If you enjoyed this and want to hear more tales from the shadows, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. It really helps me out and ensures you won't miss what's coming next. Stay safe out there.